Hey guys, Outdoor Enthusiast 88 here again. So we're doing a revisit of the Beretta 92FS. I had an original video posted a little over a year ago, and I wanted to do kind of a quick range review and tabletop review of this old warhorse. What makes this really great is pretty much, it's one of the first double stack mags with the Beretta, and it comes with a variety of accessories you can use. Obviously it's with the Army for many years now. They're just replacing it with the SIG P320 now, but I just want to kind of take it out, shoot it a little bit, see how she does. These are actually Mech-Gar mags. They're 18 rounders and performed really well. It didn't lock the slide back that time, but actually all these Beretta mags that I usually carry, especially the ones made in Italy, work fine. So pretty much what I want to do is let's bring this back to the table and get a close-up review of it.
Alright, so we're back at the review table with the Beretta 92FS, made in Italy. So this, like I said before, is a part 2 kind of a revisit for this firearm. It's been almost 2 years now, or creeping up on 2 years, since my first review, and I've had this firearm for almost 4 or 5 years now, so I put a lot of rounds through it. Did a lot of changes to it, to the firearm itself, as well as accessories, kind of get a better best practices as you were on how to use this firearm, especially since we do go out to the indoor range as well as our own farm to kind of shoot quite often for videos for you guys, and just kind of get out and shoot on the weekends. It's the American way, right? So anyways, without further ado, kind of another revisit of the close-up here. Like I said, this thing has been through its paces. I try to keep it nice and clean. I have not cleaned it since our last outing. So you can see it's a little bit grimy up in there. Not too bad. A little dirty. But, it's a firearm, so you can see that, we put a lot of mag work through it, various magazines, and I'll show you guys those. You see some holster wear on this. Use several kinds of holsters nowadays, just to kind of try out different ones. I've actually got rid of my Blackhawk holster that you've seen before, the Serpa style, ever since Kydex has been kind of the new go-to for holsters these days of all types. And I'll kind of jump into the holsters real quick. You might have seen in the first video I had one of these real cheap kind of clip-on Velcro ones. I actually use this now for my Smith & Wesson 22 compact with a threaded barrel. It's kind of nice, little 22, fits good in here, doesn't rub the finish off or anything like that. It's really nice. I love this thing. Check out my review on that if you want to take a look at it, comparing this to the Ruger 2245 actually. But this thing is never jammed, about 1,000 rounds through it. It's awesome, love it. So going back to the Beretta here, you got the 2 original magazines, made in Italy. Little 3-dot 15 round setup. No problems with them whatsoever. Going over here on the holsters here. So this is actually just a basic Kydex holster. You'll notice that there's 2 belts clips on here. This runs about 35 bucks off Amazon actually. You'll see that the holster basically is retention by wrapping around the trigger guard. So as you push in like that, this thing ain't going anywhere. That's the glory of Kydex. Plus Kydex is really light too compared to some of the other ones. The only problem about Kydex, you'll see it kind of rubs off a little bit. The ones like this that aren't like super high quality, one of the $70 ones or anything like that, they're made of different colorations. So you'll see there's like a white and a black to kind of get the print on here. Good retention, but it will wear on your slide. Obviously it rubs off, but you'll notice, just the corners there. It's a firearm. It doesn't have to be, none of my firearms are really beauty, safe queens or anything like that, but it will rub away if you're worried about that with the Kydex. And of course you have your magazine holster here. This is just a basic one. I think it's from SIG. Yeah, SIG Sauer, and now coincidentally, of course, the SIG is replacing the Beretta M9s in the military with the SIG P320 in 9mm, just to help with modularity and kind of bring it up to the standard of today's modern military. So still 15 rounds, but that's a good upgrade, I think, to move to a better combat kind of pistol framed firearm with more modularity to it. So, because this is a heavy gun and it's an old double stack design, and you know, so it's good to see some upgrades there. But here is, you know, the holster there, kind of hold the magazines in. I got this, it's an old military surplus, basic, you know, little holster. You can actually do all sorts of things. You can clip it on your belt, clip it on a molly, run belt loop through here. You can take off this front flap. All it is pretty much just a composite cloth kind of setup. US military, it's got all sorts of webbing straps. You can tie it on upside down. It's a little pull kind of setup, a little elastic, kind of a spring retention system. Probably seen these before. This isn't too bad. It doesn't really rub off or anything like that. I mean, it's not terrible at all, but kind of moving along with the magazines here. You got your 30 round mags from Beretta. These work really well and they actually look really cool. I've done a review on this. You can see how they kind of lock in there. They're nice. Yeah, can't complain about the 30 rounders. It's just nice to have the extra capacity if you want it. And kind of moving along here, you got a off-brand one. Let's see. It's made in Italy, but it's not a Beretta brand. So, you know, I think I just picked this up at a gun show at some point. 15 rounder, 3-dot, kind of mimics this, except it has a steel floor plate on it here, steel base plate. So it's a little different than the plastic ones you'll see. And it's a little bit different coloration too than the originals. See that, more of a gray finish to it. Let's see, then we also have the Metgar, which you saw did not lock back, but it's a Metgar for the M9. I don't know why it didn't lock back. It usually does, but this is actually 18 rounds. You can see it has a singular round cut all the way down, so that's a little bit different. Kind of nice. And you got two military surplus mags, both made out of New York. Just basic military surplus. Cheap. You know, really cheap actually. Just simple lock and plate. There's nothing really to grab on, so if you had to strip the mag out, but usually the Beretta doesn't have anything, no problems with it whatsoever, especially if you're not like running through sand or mud or anything. Pops out just fine. So some of the upgrades on the pistol I've done reviews on. I upgraded the actual skeletonized hammer here. Here's the original, kind of get a image of what it did look like. It doesn't really do too much to the firearm. They say it helps with, I think it's cycle rate of the pistol itself, because it's just a lighter hammer to pull back. But nonetheless, it's not that much lighter really. It does look cool though. The other big upgrade I found, the biggest one I've actually done, to be honest, was actually the grips. So the grips, these are Hogue G10 Piranha grips. I've done a review and install on these. And what they do is they simply just make the pistol thinner. So you'll notice, it's gonna actually be really hard to tell, but here's the Hogue, here's the original grips. They're just fatter around the middle, if you can tell. So these Hogue kind of flatten out, which makes the frame an easier handling. Unless you have really big hands, the Beretta 92 series and the M9 series is a fat pistol in your hand. It really is. You know, a lot of women shooters that I take along and people with small hands, they really don't like shooting this because it has such a bulky grip to it. It's kind of hard to get a hold of. So yeah, something to consider is upgrading the grips from the stock grips, the plastic ones. Now these are plastic, but they're the G10, really good composite there. Takedown, just kind of show you guys just from before. Real simple, slides right off. You know, probably seen that before if you saw my other video, but you know, there's a button on here, a little depress, push that in, flip it down, slide comes right off, real easy setup. You can manipulate the hammer if you want to with the frame like this. Just make sure you don't let it go, hurt the frame back here. This is all really dirty, it needs to be cleaned. Got to do that. Not a lot of wear. I mean, probably a few thousand rounds through this by now, but really not too bad. No excessive wear on anything there. And you go over here, you got the slide here. See, I never upgraded from the polymer guide rod. Don't really mind that too much. It is nice and dirty. No excessive wear. You can see it's dirty, but look, it's still nice and shiny right there on the feed ramp. This can be kind of a pain, this little locking mechanism right here. Sometimes if it's really dirty, it can be a pain to kind of jiggle and get back into place. Let's see if it'll cooperate, but it doesn't look as too bad today. Guide rod, it's a pretty low power spring, so it's really easy to push in there. I mean, there's a lot of pistols that are pretty hard, but this one's not too bad. Pretty much cleaning for this thing. Oh, sure the thing is in there. Pretty much cleaning for this thing is pretty straightforward. I mean, there's not a whole lot that needs to be done. Really just clean the parts off, oil the rails a little bit, and you should be good to go. Sorry about that. So actually, when I reassembled this, the guide rod, because I told you that I hadn't cleaned it a little bit, the guide rod area here where it kind of sits in was really dirty and grimy. So when I tried to put the slide back on, it was actually not locking in place because this kept wiggling back and forth. But now that I kind of rubbed off that grime, it should be just fine. So that's something to think about. So there you go. You saw it firsthand there. So if it is dirty around that guide rod area, you want to make sure it's not too slick. So you had to clean it off a little bit just to make sure that it locks in place and doesn't, you'll notice that the guide rod will stick out here, which means it is not properly seated right. So that's pretty much it, guys. Safety works just fine. Let's wrap up and I'll show you guys some more footage of the range.
All right, guys, so to conclude, Beretta 92FS, an awesome firearm. Haven't had any problems with it whatsoever. And it does have, as you saw on the table, accessories like 30-round magazines that work really well as various types of holsters, mag holsters for double-stack mags. You can actually go and use the 30-round. Look great. They work great. Safety works good. Looks cool. So, all right, hey, thanks for watching, guys. Subscribe to the channel. Like this video, and have a good one.